What is going on, world? You are now tuned into the Bong Talk Sit-Down Series, and I'm your host, Nappy 2000. And let me put the sponsors up on the screen so I can give a quick thank you to them. Thank you to Bust Down Worldwide, Happy Trees, Plain Jane, Shrubs, El Toro, and Sweets. I appreciate every single one of y'all for consistently helping me. And you can also find this on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube. But today, I have a very special guest. I have a man who is a creator of culture. I have a man who is a creator of a festival as well. I'm going to let him talk about it, though. I have 60 East in the building.
What's good, man?
What's going down, man?
It's good.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How have you been during this? I realize you kind of have like an off season
Yeah.
where you're chilling with your daughter, maybe chilling by yourself a little bit more,
Yeah.
and then you have to go back into creating the THOP Fest layout, lineup, backstage, whatever. So talk about just the progression of that right now, and just you making sure that's going well.
Well, I basically have two daughters at this point. You know what I mean? It's like I got my daughter, the human one, and I got my daughter, the festival one.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, like you said, the progression and growth. It's just been able to see them. They're almost the same age. Like the festival is like 2 years older or 2 years younger. But it's like I've kind of been seeing them grow along the lines together. You know what I mean? Oh my bad.
No, they're good.
Been seeing them kind of grow together, and yeah, just to see where we started out as, and then to see where we're going. We kind of started like as a local show, and now we got people flying in from Australia and like Europe and stuff just to come to Ontario to rock out with us. So
To
it's like
Ontario,
crazy.
California. That's a trip. That's a trip. How it's 5 years now?
Yeah, this is the 5th year.
So what? So obviously it's a huge difference from the first one, but like, fifth, 5 years is a significant number.
Yeah.
That's almost half a decade of what you've been doing. So how does it feel to be on the 5th year of this festival?
Feels good, man. A lot of my mentors, people I looked up to, like they telling me that like 5 years, they're like, yo, that's a lot of festivals don't make it past year one because a lot of people come into it, they'll spend all their money year one and just trying to do something they don't know what they're doing and fall and not be able to recover. And I'm glad that we got past it. My idea was always start small, even how small it is. Start small, and then okay, the next year we'll build it up a little more, and the next year we'll make it a little bigger, and then that formula kind of worked, and every year we just invested a little more money, effort, time, everything. Just every year took it a level up, and yeah, it's just been crazy to see.
What can we expect? I guess what I like not expect, but what would be maybe a little bit different from this one when it comes to like the I guess the cultivation of it or making it bigger compared to the 3rd year, maybe the 4th year. Like what did you implement that you think is a little bit different or special to you for this festival in particular?
So we got a couple surprises we haven't really announced yet, but like we're definitely trying to play with the layout a little more. Like every year we kind of play with the layout and make more space and stuff like that to accommodate more people coming in. So it's like for like the first couple years it was like we had a lot of vendors, and it's like maybe not as many people, but then like we started noticing more people started coming, so it's like, oh, we got to make more space, so that means less vendors. And it's like, oh, now so many people, it's like we need more things for them to do at the show instead of watching, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, the graffiti section and all that. So it's like, all right, what can we add to the show to like, keep people entertained throughout the day? So that's kind of the mindset we went in with this year. On top of just, booking more artists than we usually book and aiming for bigger artists and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you have reason on that thing.
Yeah.
You got Sci-Hi. I love Sci-Hi. He dropped the EP recently that I love.
Yep.
You have a lot of significant people on here. I mean, it's great to see you level up every single time, like you're saying. I mean, getting 5 years to a festival is huge because I always hear people say 10 years is realistically like the mark to know that you actually have a successful business,
Yeah.
and you're halfway there. So it's just great to see you strive in that.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
So talk about also the tour you were just on.
Um, which tour was I just
You're on the Rhyme Wave Festival.
Oh, Rhyme
Well,
Wave.
your
Yeah,
Rhyme Wave
yeah, yeah.
Festival
Okay,
when you were
okay.
out there. Yeah,
Oh, got you, got
that
you.
one in particular. You have a
I was
lot
like,
going on. I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
let
I get
me be more
confused, bro.
specific. The
Okay,
Rhyme
okay.
Wave Festival.
Yeah, Rhyme Wave was dope. So the person that throws the person that throws Rhyme Wave, his name is Axiom the Wise. He's an artist from Boise. He's like one of the bigger artists from the city, and he does a lot around there, you know. And he's actually on the lineup for THOP Fest too. And I guess we had been following each other online for a minute. We had never crossed paths, but we had a lot of mutual friends.
Mm-hmm.
And he had seen what I was doing with Thought Fest down here, and he had told me eventually down the line when we met that what I was doing with Thought Fest inspired him to start something similar in Boise, which is another, market that doesn't get a lot of love. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna build it. I see this dude doing it out there. I'm gonna take a couple notes from that book and try to apply it. And then the fact that he invited me out and he told me, he was like, yo, I want to invite you out because you helped inspire the show or whatever. And I was like, yo, that's super dope. Like, I'm there. And then we got to perform with Greaves and Dizzy Wright, both artists that we've been able to have on the festival. And
Last year, correct?
Well,
Dizzy Wright was last year, but
Dizzy
Greaves,
last
when
year.
was he?
He was 2018.
Time flies.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Especially with the pandemic, the world ending in the middle of all of it. You know what I mean? Like it's nuts. But yeah, shout out to the whole. That's my first time in Boise. So
I'm about to say, bro, no disrespect, but what's in Boise, Idaho?
I thought it was gonna be all white people, bro. But I was like, I thought like low key, I was just thinking like, all right, a small city and all white people, and we're just gonna hella stand out. But we get there, and it's like a lot more Hispanics than I thought. You know what I mean? And then we're in downtown, and we're performing at the Knitting Factory, which is a big venue.
Okay.
And it's a big venue out there, and yeah, I got to meet people, and I started talking to people, and some Spanish dude had came up and bought like some of my merch after my performance.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, yo, like, cause I'm used to like touring, and there'll be times where like we're in the Midwest or like in the middle of America, and I don't see a Hispanic person for like a week at a time, days at a time. And I was like, damn, like the rest of the country is really white and black. And it's like, when I got there, I was like, that's what I was low key expecting. But no, I was like, yo, we out here, bro. And then so I asked this kid, I was like, yo, what's up? Like, are we out here like that? And then he's just like, you know what, man? He's like, we are. He's like, low key. He's like, a lot of people are moving from California because everybody like from LA
to Idaho.
He's like just all over, but he's like Idaho specifically. He's saying that there's a big resurgence of like Californians moving there, and he's like, low key, give it 5 years. He's like, we're probably going to be like the majority in the state. And he's like, because that's how many people are transplanting. And that's another thing that I noticed when I was on tour with Elzai at the end of last year, because we did the Southwest.
Yeah.
Everywhere we went, from Salt Lake City to Vegas to Phoenix to Texas and Denver, everybody was like, yo, Californians are moving in like crazy. Californians are moving in like crazy. And it's like, you see it on the news, but it's like getting to get there and see it firsthand. They're like, yeah, it's crazy to see. You know what I mean? But especially in Boise, because other than that, it's like people were just like really outdoorsy out there. So people were like, I was like, yo, what could we do out there?
Yeah.
And they were like, yo, you go like rent a boat and go on the rapids in the jungle, or not the jungle, but like the lakes or whatever. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, yo, man, I'm from Cali, bro. We don't do that shit like that. You know what I mean? And I was like, yo, I'm here for a day or two. I didn't bring like that kind of gear to do all this mountain climbing and shit. You know, mountain
climbing in the jungle.
Yeah. It's nuts,
I mean, I feel it though. I mean, California. I seen your tweet not too long ago about living in California. I've said this to people too. I've been to different places around the country. Around the world. I love California. I don't think I would leave California.
We spoiled, man.
We are. We got everything here. I mean, but it's more so for me, it's like the weed and the weather.
That's what we spoiled.
I mean,
you
like
know what I mean? Like,
it's the main two things. I'm like, everywhere else, I'm like, nah, it's
Yep.
The weather just be bland sometimes.
Everywhere. I thought I was in Miami recently, and like people were like, "Oh, Miami will change your mind. Miami will change your mind." Man, hell no. It's humid as hell in Florida, man. Like,
I was there last month, hot as shit.
Yeah, I just walked outside and started sweating. I'm like, man, I can't even blow trees out here like that.
No,
man.
no.
Nuts.
We will have to wait to smoke that shit at nighttime.
Yeah.
But it's hot at nighttime though too, so
yeah,
it really don't fucking matter what time you go. But it's really cool to see you, bro. Like you said, work with artists that you grew up listening to, number one, and then to putting him on a tour that you may be cultivating or a festival that you're doing. I think that's just a huge significant thing. Uh, do you think about that sometimes, like when you maybe like book these shows? Like, damn, I was listening to this dude when I was younger, or I was, just rapping this not too long ago, and now he's on like my festival, he's on my show. How does that feeling feel when you do stuff like that?
I love it, man.
Yeah.
That's like one of the funnest parts of the show. Like working with rappers ain't always that fun of a job, you know what I mean?
Yeah, off top, yeah.
But yeah, I get to be a fan, and that's one of the things I like most about the festival. Because being on the artist side of things, sometimes you can't be a fan, you know what I mean? Or not necessarily can't be, but it's like you're just so focused on yourself. Throwing the festival has allowed me to continue to be a fan without my face necessarily being behind it. You know what I mean? So it's like I can really promote an artist with no hesitation or no like you know what I mean? No haterade or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, I have this platform followed by people that love hip hop just for hip hop, and I'm gonna put people on there that I think deserve it. You know what I mean? So especially my heroes, you know what I mean? Like every time we book the lineup, I'm just thinking of like, who was I listening to back in the day? Who do I want to see? Like the lineup is literally full of people that I just never got to see or want to see. You know what I mean?
Who's someone on the lineup that you didn't see, but now you get to see?
For this year?
Yeah, for this year. There's a lot of people on that lineup.
I mean, it's crazy because I've actually been trying to catch Reason live for a minute now. And,
Okay.
I tried to catch him at Smokers Club. I tried to catch him like at a couple other places, but it just never happened. And I was like, you know what, man? I'm gonna get him on the show, and I'm gonna see him at my damn show. And that's had a part of to do with why we booked him.
Ninth Wonder, bro, and Mussolini.
Nuts.
That's nuts. I grew. I'm from. My second home is North Carolina, so I love Little Brother.
Oh, nice.
That's like my 3-6 Mafia is my first favorite group, and then Little Brother. Those are like my two groups. So to see Ninth Wonder on here, that's incredible.
Yeah, we've been trying to get Ninth for a minute, and like, luckily I have like a working relationship with them, like via my relationship with Crisis.
Yeah.
We did a tour together, and we're actually working on an album together.
I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that connection's kind of always been there, and it was just like it was kind of time. And it's been Ninth, he's hard to get a hold of, and he's so busy doing so many other things. Like he doesn't really hit the road like that.
Isn't he a teacher?
Yeah, I think he teaches like he's a professor,
yeah,
like, in college or some shit. On top of plenty other things. But I seen he was on the road, so I was like, oh, this would be a perfect time to reach out and get him on the show. And same, we've had conversations with Little Brother, but again, they've, their touring schedule's been, kind of crazy over the years. And as far as doing shows, not doing shows, what they do,
they're not even really together like that.
Yeah, so. Eventually, that's on a bucket list, and I definitely have a bucket list of like dream performers that I'd like to see, and groups I'd like to bring back together to perform at THOP Fest and shit.
Name two of them. Two of them. What's manifested right now?
Man, I had Slaughterhouse on there.
Oh,
the way things been going this past year.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever gonna happen. But yeah, I'll throw that out there. Who else? I mean, Little Brother was on there. Like, I had ideally wanted to get Pooh, Fonte, and Ninth.
Bro, I would have tripped out.
Yeah,
I love the minstrel show.
Yeah. I mean, they just don't do a lot of performances, and I never got to see them. Like, they were on, like, Rock the Bells and stuff back in the day here and there. But, like, I remember being at the show but not being able to catch their set because there's 100 other people performing, you know what I mean? Or there's whatever you're doing at the show. So... yeah, it's just again back to I just want to book people that I want to see, man.
No, I'm happy for you, and I'm excited to see that. Real quick, we're gonna go on a little break. You are now tuned into the Bong Talk Sit-Down Series, and I'm your host Nappy 2000, and we have the THOP Fest founder and creator and a curator of culture, 60 East, in the building. So we will be right back, real quick. Well, bam. Stay tuned. We'll be right back for more.
Crafted from the fires of dragons, chilled on the highest peaks of Everest, the Canagard is designed for perfection, using only the freshest herbs our planet has to offer, cultivated by years of experience. El Toro Verde. Crisp, rich draw. Slow resin burn. Be bold. Be elegant. Be the bull. El Toro Verde. You should be smoking.
We are now back with Bong Talk, and I am your host, Nappy 2000, and we have special guest 60 East in the building once again. So I want to talk about one thing. You are a curator of, a brand new culture, a brand new thing. What was the original? What was like the original, I guess, imprint of that? Like when you planted that seed, like where did that come from when you made like this culture or you made this festival? Because it's really big right now, and it's continuing to grow, and you are now like a face of a brand new thing. So talk about that, that original seed that you first planted, and now it being 5 years later.
Man, it's crazy. It's been a long journey. From throwing house parties at my mom's crib in high school that we
Right.
would like curate. We would literally book DJs from so different cities and then book our homies to perform. You know what I mean? To when I started working with First Dirt, a label out of Sacramento that I started coming up with, and then we started booking artists at different venues around Sacramento, and then started throwing shows down here. It all kind of led up to that moment where I was just like, those were like the little seeds, and then performing at different festivals and coming up with the idea of like, man, I'd like to throw a big show one day, and then the word festival getting thrown in there. And then in 2016, around that time, I read a book called The Happiness of Pursuit, Finding the Journey That'll Bring Meaning to Your Life. That's the name of the book. And the dude, his name's Chris something, he was like 35. No, he had a goal to travel to every country in the world before the age of 35, and he wanted to tell this story in this book. But instead of telling the story about his journey, he told it through the eyes or through the stories of people he met that were on journeys of their own. So it reminded me of when I would be touring and I'd be in Portland, I'd come across a dope artist, and then I'd be like, yo, this chick is dope. Like, I'd like to, like, book her one day and, like, put her on a song or something so people can know her. And then I'll be in Europe or whatever and be like, yo, this cat's dope. I'd like to put him in front of my audience one day. And then reading that book was just like, oh, this dude just took all the people he met and put them in a book and told his story through their story. And I was like, what if I could do that with a festival? And that's where the idea was like, what if I just invite all my friends that I've met around the country and around just touring for fucking 10 years or whatever, and invite them to Ontario and let them perform in front of the crowd that we have here. And like, I always tell people like rap and like being an artist is like the movie Joe Dirt, because Joe Dirt, like in the movie, like he just kind of goes, he's traveling, doing this journey, trying to do what he's trying to do, but he keeps telling people of his hometown, like, yo, let me tell you about this wonderful place I'm from. And if you notice, every artist is like trying to put the city on the map, and everywhere they go, they're telling people about their experience from where they're from. And like, I was no different. I was always trying to tell people, oh, I'm from Ontario, like, this is what it's like, this is what it's like. And after years of trying to tell people about it, I was like, yo, what if I can show them the city by having them come here? Instead of me coming to them, I'm going to just throw my own show and make the people that would come to my shows around the country just come here, experience my city, and experience a show that they'll remember for the rest of their life. And that was kind of the seed. Long answer, but...
No, that was a perfect answer. That was a perfect answer. I mean, a lot of people experience their first festival at the THOP Fest.
Yeah. It's nuts.
Yeah, I've seen people say that. How does that feel to see?
It's crazy. I remember being a kid and like the first festival I ever went to, I was in junior high. Like my brother was going, and my mom was one of those like, oh, if you're going out, you gotta take your little brother. And it was the Smoke Out Festival 2002 or something like that at the Coliseum. And I'm like walking in. I see people graphing up like the wall. I see people smoking weed. I see B-boys right here. I see an MC cypher over here, and then it's just like 20,000 people and fucking Snoop Dogg on stage, and I'm like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, this is where I want to be. And like, that was just like, I'm in love from that moment. Like, I'm definitely one of those people, like, clubbing ain't my shit. My thing is like concerts. I like being, it's crazy because I hate people, but I like gatherings. And it's like hella ironic because I just like that energy of like being surrounded by like-minded people for catching that vibe. And being able to create that for other people is just like I trip out on it because like though people do tell me and like I see the posts on Instagram, like I don't see it like it's not me experiencing it, because I'm on the backside experiencing all the bullshit or whatever.
Right, right,
But
right.
yeah, like I just remember being that kid going to a show and being like telling the promoter, "Yo, thank you, like yo, this is my hip hop fix for the year" type shit, and like now getting that same response, it's dope. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, and it's an amazing thing. I mean, you have so many artists on there. Someone's gonna see their favorite artist at some point.
Yep.
Yeah, and one thing you talked about is a book. I was on your Twitter,
Mm.
and I saw you say that you're currently writing a book.
Yes, I actually finished it today. Not today.
Oh, what?
I'm on the last chapter, but I'm actually like it's written. I'm just editing at this point, so I'm like on the final draft right now, like editing, and then from there it goes to the actual editor.
What's it
But
called?
all that's to be announced.
Okay,
I'm not
okay,
really
okay.
telling what it's about, what the name is
Right.
just yet. But I'm gonna be ready to roll that out pretty soon.
Okay.
Super, super excited. But yeah, it's definitely about my experience as an artist over the past 10 years.
Okay.
I just won't give the specific premise just yet.
I think it's always interesting because no matter if you do music, paint, do different whatever, produce, you're an artist through and through.
Yeah.
And creating a book, you're writing, and being a rapper, you write also. So how has it been, transitioning, the pen to now a book form, even though writing music and writing an album could be like a book because you are telling your experiences, but now you're, talking to it, literally putting it through the book in your first person point of view.
Yeah.
How does that feel transitioning your pen to that? It's interesting.
I love it. It's like a whole new passion like I never did before. I wrote like poetry, but it was always lyrics and maybe like I never wrote no short stories and nothing like that. But I probably started reading like 2015, 16 like heavy. Prior to that it was like a book maybe once every couple years or something. But like 2015 I think it started with the Happiness and Pursuit book. And that was just like, wow, that book changed my life. And I was like, let me find maybe there's other books that can change my life. And sure enough, there was. I started discovering different books, all the alchemists, the greatest salesman in the world, just like all these amazing books that, teach people so much stuff. And then I started discovering financial. Anyway, like the whole. I just became a fan. Like I just became a reader, and then just reading inspired me to want to write my own book. And then I started discovering like other hip hop artists that had written books like Blueprint and Dessa and Murs and Russ and Logic and just like so many people.
Russ is a good book.
Yeah,
Russ is a really good book.
Logic's book was fucking crazy. It was like it was on a whole nother level. Like I was totally not expecting that. But yeah, Logic's book was amazing too. Rakim's book, fucking Prodigy's book, Eminem's book, 50's book. Like I just read all of these and I started getting super interested because this is the culture and like the corner of the people that like the corner of it's like our niche market, these people that are like I'm trying to work with or that I'm working with and stuff like that. So it's discovering that there's a place for that outside of music was like, oh, this is cool. Maybe like my fans would like to read a book about the stories that I'm telling in my music, but maybe they don't listen to hip hop like that, but they're fans of what I do. So maybe this could appeal to them, like my 50-year-old aunt or something that follows me on Facebook. And
she'll read it.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, this is cool. So I just discovered a whole new passion for it. And like, it's developed into not only books, but movie scripts. And
Okay.
yeah, and like that's definitely where I can definitely see myself going that route, even if one day I stop doing music or if I keep doing music and just do this as like a side project. It's
like an Ice Cube.
yeah, exactly. It's just kind of like getting to start from scratch at something else. Like it's exciting to me. You know what I mean? That was like the exciting thing of starting THOP. That's because it was new. And like when I first started rapping and doing shows and touring, and it was all new to me. So it was fun and exciting. And like I've been able to do that for a long time, and it still excites me. But sometimes you need those new, whether it's a new hobby, picking up golf or whatever it is, you know what I mean, that just excites you and brings that energy out of you. And that's what writing and reading have done for me lately.
That's great. And, talking about what you just said, finding that new spark in something. When you first created the Thought Festival, was there like a spark maybe somewhere in your life that was lost? Like, and you want something new? You're just kind of like, what I'm doing right now, I'm not really fucking with. I need something new in my life. Is that maybe ultimately one of the other reasons why you made it too?
Absolutely. So like I said, I had been touring up until 2010 to 2017. I was just touring, doing every show I could, like constantly on the road. That was just my focus. And then 2000, I had my daughter in 2015, and then 2016 I was touring heavy. Like that's when 15, 16 I started touring Europe heavy, and
Okay.
then I started being gone a lot more. And then 2017, my kids started walking, talking, and all that. So I was like, yo, I kind of want to find something. Like, I had kind of got tired of touring. It was just kind of like, yo, this is just kind of getting boring.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me find something that allows me to be home more so I can see my daughter more and allows me to keep growing as an artist, but not necessarily having to be on the road. And that's where the idea of starting something that brings in people from outside of the state or city or whatever to come see me and everyone else was born. And then it was definitely that. I'm missing something from this touring shit. Like this, I'm not getting that same feeling I was getting, so let me try and do something else.
Mm. You think you'll get that same way with the THOP festival?
I'm getting there, man. It's funny because Mers had told me, like, he had told me, I had, shout out to Mers, like, he's been very helpful as far as a mentor, telling me and giving me advice and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he was just like, yo, like, I got tired of it, you know what I mean? He's like,
He was doing paid dues, right?
yeah, he did pay dues
Yeah.
for 8 years, only
Woo.
3 more years after where we're at, you know what I mean? We're almost there. And he was just like, yo, at that point, he was like, I was over it. He's like, I didn't even like throwing the show anymore because it just took so much of my time away from other things. And I see it now, and like as of right now, it's still exciting to me. But I'm just like kind of how Noah was talking about earlier. If we're in the same universe or whatever that happened. But yeah, you know, just like that, taking the time away from myself and investing it into other people in this other platform, even though it's been very beneficial, it's still taken away from other things that I'd like to do for myself as well.
Yeah, you know, like it's kind of like when Too Short would always be like, "Yeah, I'm about to retire."
Yeah,
It didn't really retire, and then dropped like a whole ass album afterwards. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I would see you post like, "Yeah, yo, I don't think I'm about to do this shit again." Like blah blah blah. But then you're like, you know what? New festival coming up, new lineup dropping. Stay tuned.
A lot of it is hype, you know what I mean? A lot of it is like, oh man, you know, this is the last show. Don't be surprised if you see me post, yo, this is the last Stop Fest. Make sure to get your tickets. And that's funny because I got that from Atmosphere, and it's like one piece of advice he gave me while I was on tour in Minneapolis. We went out to lunch. And I asked him, I was like, yo, you know, you see what I'm doing with the THOP Festival? Like, if there's any advice you could give, because they throw the Soundset Festival with Rhyme Sayers.
Yeah.
And he was like, you got to keep people talking about the festival year round. He's like, however you got to do it. And then he told me the story because every year they threw Soundset, he would post on Twitter. He was like, yo, this is the last year we're doing Soundset. He was like, make sure to pull up because, you know, this is the last one. And then I was just like, as a nod to him, and I was just like, yo, I'm going to kind of play with that. But, I mean, I've definitely had those feelings also, and it's just so there's some truth to it. Last year it was kind of one of those things where it was just like we're actually at a point where it's like we have so much on the table. There's a possibility if we don't break even or you know land in the green, we could lose a lot. And say if we lose X amount of, we may not be able to bounce back. Maybe not in a year, maybe not in 2, maybe not ever. You know what I mean? But we're at a point where the risk is that high.
It has to count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're at a point where we can't fuck around no more.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but that's also a good point. You know what I mean? Because you like you said, you like starting things from scratch, and starting things from scratch, there's gonna be some risk, and you know you can't make the money, you can't make the good things without that risk behind it. Sometimes.
Yeah, it's a big risk now. Like the biggest risk I've ever had on the table. You know what I mean? With me solely responsible for it. So I'm like, it's helping me develop too as an adult, as a man, and just in general with my business, how I run stuff. Just, you know, and I'm grateful for it. I think I'm where I'm supposed to be.
What's the main thing that this whole, like all these experiences, like what's the main thing that you figured yourself out as a man? Like what's the main thing, 60?
I could do anything I put my mind to, man. Like, people have always told me that I was just always one of those kids that, you know, my teachers would always tell me that, like, you have so much potential if you would just stop being a dumbass in the street, stop smoking weed, stop running the streets with your dumbass friends and put
Yeah.
your mind to something, you could do it. And
Mhm.
I've been able to realize that I have that ability, and it's crazy. And yeah, I've just learned to believe in myself more, knowing that, I work well under pressure. They say champions love challenges, and I don't feel like I'm living or working or doing anything unless I'm being challenged. Like,
Mm.
I just constantly try to find different ways to challenge myself, to prove to myself that I'm good, or that I'm better than I was before, or that I can be better. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And yeah, I like that pressure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, what's coming up with this festival with who you got, the pressure is most definitely there.
Yeah.
I mean, the buzzer is almost, you gotta hit it before the buzzer.
Yep.
But it's all love, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And one last question I kind of do want to ask. I'm really curious about. We talked about a lot of different things about who you are as an individual, the books that you've read, the things that you learned as a man. But ultimately, 60, like, what is the driving force for you to continue to make the music, to continue to do the festivals, continue to do this and that? Because they all have different answers, but there's always one umbrella answer for everything. So, like, what's that main driving force?
Aside from just wanting to win, you know what I mean? Like, I've always just had that mentality. I got that Mamba mentality that,
Yep.
the Michael Jordan Last Dance, motherfucker, make me mad and see what
Yeah.
happens type energy and attitude. Yeah, I've just always wanted to win, on seeing people coming from the bottom or whatever, and just seeing people winning and seeing how they messed it up or whatever. I don't know. It's just always inspired me to want to get to that place and get to that position. And in general, like, just growing up a hip hop kid, I've always wanted to be in the book. And people
Yeah.
say be in the book, you know what I mean? I use that as a term, but like, I feel like being able to do stuff like going on this, it's the Sky Zoo Pete Rock tour was like a moment. And because
Yeah.
Sky Zoo Pete Rock's a legend, Sky Zoo and Pete Rock are both in the book, and the fact that they released an album together on Mellow Music Group, that's in the book. And
Mm-hmm.
there was a tour for that album, and I was on it, as far as maybe in the index section of the book, but I'm just trying to be in the book, the hip hop book, man. And I think we've low key been able to do that with the festival, and it's crazy because it's bigger than myself. But doing all those things aside from just wanting to win and be successful for my kid and all that, that's the driving force, man. I've always just wanted to be respected in the culture. Just have my name be up there, man, with the greats or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, being the new author that you are most definitely in that book, bro.
Yeah, thanks.
You're
Dope.
most definitely in that book, bro. And I appreciate you, bro, for what you're doing for the culture. I appreciate what you're doing for the Inland Empire. As you can see, that's where I'm from. I got it on the hat.
Hey.
I appreciate you just for everything that you're doing, bro. And I just wish you much, much more success. I just love when people in our area win. And I love when you do something that's outside of yourself. Even though I like me and you were kind of saying I don't really like talking to people either, but I fucking interview people. That shit is interesting. Sometimes you gotta do stuff outside yourself to get to the bigger picture, and I appreciate that's something that you do.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for all you do too.
Yeah, man. We try. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to Bong Talk, the Sit-Down Series. I am your host, Nappy 2000. Real quick, let me go to this desk right here with his glass pieces. I didn't bring this up one time. If you see that right there, that is the Tornado glass. You can look that up for. It's on Himperco actually. It's their August edition that they have. It's a beautiful piece. I haven't really used it yet. I don't really know if I am gonna use it. It's really clean though. And two, if you see that bull, El Toro Verde, an award-winning infused Canagar right there. You can find that at the Emerald Club, second place. That's how they do it. But thank you guys for tuning in to Bong Talk. I'm Nappy 2000, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Bong Talk Sit-Down Series. You can find these episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Also, thank you to the sponsors of the show.